Hello, everyone. Chief Inspector Smythe here, coming to you from New Scotland Yard, my third floor office on the banks of the River Thames, into the shadow of the obelisk on the western bank of the River Thames, the Eye of Cleopatra, an Egyptian sign and symbol that rules our world, including New Scotland Yard, which is part of our military police services military unit as part of Geneva global governance. That's who runs London. The New Scotland Yard is in charge of policing services for 32 boroughs of the city of London. However, the New Scotland Yard is not permitted to, nor have the authority to enter into the third district of the London town, which is referred to as the City of London Corporation, which has its own police services, its own militarized Tower of London prison, and it's operated and owned by Switzerland, UBS, Union Bank of Switzerland, and all of the affiliate clone banks that you've heard of, like Hong Kong Shanghai Bank and HBC Bank, and the Bank of London is over there. So I'm telling you, London, England is a subsidiary of Geneva, Switzerland, right? It operates out of Zurich and Zug and Basel, Switzerland. All right. So Juxtaposition has asked me today to present to you today's video, which is entitled Papal, Poppycock, Geneva, Global Governance. And you too can have one of these juxtaposition mugs, even if you're not a member, but you do need to mail in a check for a minimum of $150. Down below, you will see my post office box where you don't have to become a member, but you can be a cup holder of a juxtaposition coffee cup. Or perhaps today you'll need some Scotch whiskey in that handsome cup, right? Because this is a harsh video. So do strap in, put on a crash helmet, wear eye protection, and say your prayers. All right, so we're going to talk about Papal Poppycock. So as a prelude to today's video, we had the completion of the 21 stages of the Giro d'Italia, the Tour of Italy, 21 stages, and they finished today in Rome, outside the gates there of St. Peter's Square in the Vatican City, the sovereign nation of Vatican, guarded by 15 gendarme military armed guards. That's right, that's who guards the Vatican. That's who guards the Pope. That's who guards the Papal Poppycock is Switzerland, right? You do know that, right? That the Vatican belongs to Switzerland. It's a sovereign part of the 26 cantons of Switzerland. If you didn't know that, you should become a paid member and get busy with your education. All right. Now, I have a rebuttal for the Pope Leo the 14th. Pope Leo the 14th, born in Chicago, Illinois, kind of following Paul Marcinkus, who was from Cicero, Illinois, which is about 15 to 20 miles west of downtown Chicago away. Yet Paul Marcinkus was the president of the Bank of Vatican, known as military acronym IOR, Institute of Religious Works. Goes by a couple of other fake cover names too. The Bank of Vatican. It's it was Paul Marcinkus who was the president during the murder of Pope John Paul I back in September 1978 on that Pope's 33rd day of papacy. 33 is the highest level of obedience within the obelisk or pyramid of power. And I have a number of photographs in today's video footnotes that you can examine that do represent pyramids, hierarchy of chain of command. So the obelisk is a chain of command. 33 is the highest level of the chain of command, also the most obedient level of the chain of command, and has the most privileges within the chain of command. It's the obelisk, the pyramid. It's the Egyptian signs and symbols that rule our world. And of course, if you're a paid member, you know this. You don't need Chief Inspector Smythe to explain it to you like you're in third grade. All right. So anyway, what I'm telling you is that this is an official rebuttal on the 21st conclusion, 21st stage of the tour of Italy, concluding in Rome, Italy this morning. This morning. Today is the May 31st, 2026. You should know that merely 6 days ago, on Monday, May 25th, 2026, it was Pope Leo the 14th who delivered his speech where he presented his letter to his bishops. Let me just explain to you the situation. Pope Leo the 14th delivered a speech on May 25th, 2026. That was Monday last. Regarding artificial intelligence. He entitled his what is called it's called encyclica. He entitled it the Magnifica Humanitas, which has to do with human augmentation without stipulating the augmentation part. He's trying to say that humans are magnificent. The problem is, of course, that the Pope does not believe in that. And neither does the Catholic Church. Neither does any organized religion. That includes the Buddhists, the Hare Krishnas, that includes the Mormons, the LDS Mormons, completely augmented, clueless, fake followers of a philanderer by the name of Joseph Smith, and a double philanderer in the case of Brigham Young, who philandered twice as much as Joseph Smith did. Anyway, what you should know is Magnifica Humanitas is a letter to the bishops to make suggestions regarding how to handle the flock, the sheep, the people who are headed to a Hunger Game, Donald Trump Freedom City, and then harvested and sent to a cremation oven for their remains. It is called an encyclical letter. The encyclical was presented last Monday at the Vatican, and it called for the disarmament of artificial intelligence so as to prevent its use to threaten humanity. The Pope emphasized the need for global cooperation to ensure that AI serves peace, justice, and a common good. I guess the Pope doesn't know that it's global organization that created the idea of human augmentation and created the AI deployment. It's the problem of global cooperation that should be disbanded. In other words, the Pope should be ignored as a buffoon. The Pope is a dope. The Pope is a dope. That's why Juxtaposition wanted me to deliver this message from New Scotland Yard, because of the fact that he already receives dozens of ad hominem attacks and he doesn't need any more trouble. So we're going to aim that at a uh, services in the city of London, right? The great. Let me continue here. Isn't this lovely? I was right on point, and my video completely vaporized in front of my face. You can tell they don't want this message out. Do like and share my videos. I am heavily shadow banned. Pope Leo compared the artificial intelligence revolution to that of the industrial revolution, which was faced by the Catholic Church well over a century ago by King Leo the 13th. You know, Leo the 13th back in 1891. Back in 1891, we had the Industrial Revolution and Pope Leo the 13th, unity amongst Masons. And he also issued a encyclical recommendations, suggestions to bishops on how to handle the industrial transformations. Um, anyway, the Pope Leos, both the 13th and the 14th, are now urging responsible and ethical use of this technology known as the AI. The encyclica, Pope Leo the 14th encyclical, was the result of extensive dialogue between the Vatican and the tech industry. which is a joke because there really is no tech industry. There's a weapons industrial complex, military weapons industrial complex, supervised by NATO and Lockheed Martin. And that is the tech industry. But I mean, Pope Leo doesn't even seem to know who is running the show here, but it's Geneva, Switzerland who's running the show. All right. Anyway, he claims that they've had an extensive dialogue between the Vatican and the tech industry, which aimed to engage all the corporations within the wisdom of the Catholic Church, the Holy Roman Catholic Church. All right. That's the basis of today's rebuttal. I am here for a juxtaposition rebuttal. All right. Before I digress further, you should know the deception of applied linguistics and the weaponization of words and word craft is infiltrated to any utterance you hear from any pope ever, whoever speaks. It's critical to understand the definition of terminology and words. Words have meaning and meaning matters on the juxtaposition channel, and the paid members know it. And that's essential for you to understand today's rebuttal. Papal edict is different and distinguished from what is called a papal encyclical. Okay. And on Monday last, Pope Leo mailed out encyclical letters to all of the bishops within the Roman Catholic Church. And he delivered verbally a synopsis of that to the people who joined him in the hall there in the Vatican City, which of course has a Swiss obelisk in St. Peter's Center. It's a obelisk of a chain of command that shows that the Pope is beholden to Geneva, Switzerland, and Geneva Global Governance. Geneva Global Governance is the master of the Roman Catholic Church and the dope of a pope, the dope of all popes. All the popes are dopes, every one of them, except I'll give a special dispensation to Pope John Paul I, who declared an audit of the Bank of Vatican, and then 33 days after his papacy began, Pope John Paul I was murdered. It was on September 28th, 1978. And Paul Marcinkus was present in the Vatican. At that time, he was the president of the Bank of Vatican when Pope John Paul I was given a cyanide-laced cup of tea. You should know that they embalmed his body immediately, tossed all of his organs into a cremation oven, and then people started to debate whether or not an autopsy should be performed, which of course is impossible once you've destroyed all the internal organs. I'm not joking around. They really did that. They murdered the Pope at age 65, 33 days after he was ordained a Pope, installed as the leader of the Roman Catholic Church. He orders an audit of the Institute of Religious Works, aka the Bank of Vatican, Swiss Bank Authority, to which Switzerland murdered the Pope in the way that they would put down someone like Sam Giancana, Johnny Roselli, Paul Castellano, for example, Ben Bugsy Siegel, for another example, like the way they put down Alan Dorfman as another example, or Jimmy Hoffa as yet another example. The papal edict is an official decree or command ordered issued by the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church. It is a right, which is a type of public decree authenticated by a lead seal known as a bulla, traditionally appended to the document known as the Papal Edict. Papal edicts have been used for various purposes, including doctrinal pronouncements, governance, significant historical events such as the excommunication of Martin Luther in the year 1520. Papal edicts carry legal weight within the Catholic Church and have shaped Catholic Church policies and governance throughout history. Now, to be distinguished from what Pope Leo XIV issued Monday last on the 25th of May, a papal encyclical is merely a letter written by the Pope, typically addressed to a particular audience of bishops, and is used to guide the bishops in their relations with their flocks, what juxtaposition calls the clueless sheep who are awaiting the next command before they head off to the cremation oven. The term encyclical comes from the Greek word in "kleleios", which means circular, like circular loop of lunacy, or in a circle. That's what encyclical means. It means it's a circular loop of suggestions. It's evolved to refer specifically to papal documents that are sent to all bishops within Christianity or a particular country of bishops. Encyclicals are part of the Pope's ordinary magisterium and are considered authoritative teachings of papal magisterium. They're guidance, they're not commands. I want to distinguish that encyclical not the same as an edict. An edict is a directive. An edict is a mandate. An edict is a command. You must not disobey your command. Remember that the code of conduct of the Roman Catholic Church is a minimum of 4 oaths that you take. One is, the most important, is obedience. That means you follow all your orders. Ethical, unethical matters not. You're obedient. First and foremost, you are obedient. Number 2 is you observe the code of omerta, of silence and secrecy. You follow an oath of poverty, meaning that you're enslaved and imprisoned within a gilded cage in the case of the Vatican City, and the people who work there or live within the city boundaries. They are encased and detained within a guarded city, guarded by the gendarmes of Geneva, Switzerland. Switzerland guards the Pope and the perimeter of the Vatican. All right. And an encyclical is merely a guidance suggestion. It is not a command like an edict is, a papal bull. All right. This is the difference between a raging bull and a toothless geriatric German shepherd who's on his last legs. It's quite a striking difference. All right. In other words, an edict is a command, like a COVID mandate is. It's a papal edict, because the Vatican City did require face diapering and vaccinations. So the papal edict is congruent with Swiss bank Geneva global governance. You get it? The Pope is a metaphor. The Pope is a metaphor for the World Economic Forum. It is a metaphor for the United Nations and Agenda 2030. It is a metaphor for human augmentation. And my problem here is that the Pope has not issued an edict to dismantle or disable the AI. He's merely playing politics here. In other words, he's the toothless German shepherd in the room, whereas Geneva is the real papal bull. They're moving forward with human augmentation. No mention of human augmentation can be found in this encyclical that Pope Leo prepared. He didn't address chemtrails, smart dust. He didn't talk about CRISPR Therapeutics, Jennifer Doudna. He didn't talk about Innovative Genomics Institute. He didn't talk about Caribou Biosciences. He didn't talk about cryptocurrency. He didn't talk about central bank digital currency, hyperledger systems. He didn't mention one world money system, one coin, one coinage. He didn't mention one world order. He linguistical games where he suggests that we disable the AI when the joke is it's already fully deployed. The genie model once it's already out. And so the AI is already fully deployed. So this letter from Pope Leo comes very late. He should have issued it about 20 years ago, before the 6G technology of terahertz was rolled out, and before the chemtrail planes were dumping, and before the COVID operation was rolled out. This letter to the bishops, the encyclical, should have been presented back in 2005, 2006, or before. Could be 1995, would have been fine. Anyway, what you should know is the Pope and the Vatican are guarded 24/7 by Swiss military armed guards. That the Bank of Vatican, known as the IOR, is a satellite private bank of Switzerland out of Zurich and Zug and Basel. You should know that Pope Francis issued a number of mandates and proposals to streamline and globalize Vatican city-state policy. Vatican is a city and a sovereign state, but it's 100% owned by Switzerland, so I would call it a colony, just like the United States is. Donald Trump is the dope of a pope of the United States, right? We have all these pseudo leaders of our world. They're just Hunger Game governors who take their orders out of Geneva, Switzerland. As does Pope Leo. I wouldn't be surprised that his encyclical was actually drafted in Geneva and approved in a conference room, probably in the House of Peace for NATO, because it is in fact a war doctrine. It's a war doctrine. It's a war doctrine. Pope Leo is imprisoned by a Swiss army. He was born in Chicago. His papacy, Leo's papacy, began on May 8th, 2025, 1 year ago. You know that May 8th is number 13, unity amongst Masons, right? So you see the number 13 is a period. We know that Pope Leo, yeah, for all of his machinations, he is a Masonic pimp for Agenda 2030. The Pope is a pimp for human augmentation. He is a pimp for one world order. He is a pimp for, remember, he said global cooperation. Global cooperation means digital ID, real ID verified. The Pope is a pimp for real ID. The Pope is a pimp for tagging all farm animals, which includes the sheep, which his bishops are ranchers of the sheep. They're shepherds of the sheep, are they not? Shepherds? What do you think a shepherd? How does a shepherd get paid? By having his lambs slaughtered and turned into meat, and the wool harvested. In other words, sheep are just they're just fuel to run the realm, right? To run the kingdom. It's not the kingdom of God, it's the kingdom of Swiss bank authority. That's the kingdom. It's a farm, it's a plantation. Pope Leo is a pimp over the ranchers, aka the shepherd, the good shepherds who herd the sheep into slaughterhouses called processing facilities. That's Pope Leo. He is a senior rancher on the farm, on the ranch. He is supervising the processing of humans, the slaughterhouse, right? That's what he's doing. I swear he's doing that. There's no question about it. He's using applied linguistics to mask his intended purpose. Nowhere did Pope Leo issue an edict to disable the AI. He didn't issue an edict to dismantle Real ID. He didn't issue an edict to disband the United Nations. His motto is one, that we are one. That's Pope Leo's motto. We are one. It's like John Lennon's Imagine. One world order? Well, that's Geneva, Switzerland Agenda 2030. That's their motto also. We are one. Tell you, and diversity are freedom and liberty. Liberty and freedom are diversity and anarchy. That's the only way humanity can be expressed. In the way that Pope Leo is promulgating his suggestions about disabling the AI, he is in fact endorsing the one world order of fascism. He's endorsing a form of communism, socialism, totalitarianism, or on this juxtaposition channel, it is referred to as techno-enslavementism. Techno-enslavementism is fascism. Fascism. That's what Pope Francis was. That's what Pope John Paul II was. That is what Pope Leo is. He's a fascist, just like Benito Mussolini was, just like Switzerland is, just like Lucio Gelli is, like Roberto Calvi was, like Michele Sedona was, like Paul Marcinkus was. They're fascists, like Donald Trump is, like Bernie Sanders is, like Chuck Schumer is, like Robert Kennedy Jr. clown show is, like Ron DeSantis is, like Rand Paul and Ron Paul are, like Arnold Screw Your Freedom Schwarzenegger and Jesse the steroid Ventura Body are fascists, like Gavin Newsom is, like Barbara Boxer and Dianne Feinstein were fascists. Got it? Get it? Good. Anyway, that's my rebuttal to Monday last's delivery of the encyclical um, letter to bishops within the Roman Catholic Church, the Holy Roman Catholic Church, that I believe that Pope Leo's letter of intelligence is in fact poppycock, balderdash, and that when you fail to mention human augmentation and real ID and verification and one world coinage, one world global governance out of Geneva, then you are a fool and you are fully infiltrated and probably augmented with bird flu boosters on top of your monkeypox booster, on top of your COVID coronavirus, aka Omicron variant hoax vaccine jab of graphene, aluminum, and polymers. That's my message for today for the juxtaposition flock, who we consider to be independent minded anarchists, who are the only free people left on this plantation known as Swiss Bank Hunger Games. Thanks everybody for listening. Do like and share the video, and do not miss an opportunity to acquire one of these very handsome coffee, tea, or me mugs of Juxtaposition One's excellent work of educating the world that we're under Swiss bank authority. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye bye.